Well, good morning, everybody. Jeff Slakey here on Daybreak. Big weekend upcoming this weekend. The Skookum Rotary presenting the 36th Annual Washington State Seafood Festival. We love it and call it Oysterfest. I have the Grand Old Oyster in studio with me this morning. It's Melanie Bakala. Good morning.
Good morning, Jeff.
Oh, my gosh. So we are just days away from the kickoff for Oysterfest. This is a lot of work put in by the Skookum Rotary, and you're the Grand Old Oyster this year. Tell folks just about what the GOO does and how you got lofted to this great position.
I think GOO is probably one of the easier jobs because, we have so many great chairs for every single venue who've been doing this for years.
Yeah.
So it's really just making sure that we're all on the same page and all the details are at least hammered out as best as we can before we set up on Thursday. But it's really just being the figurehead and making sure everybody's talking and everything's happening. Yeah.
Making sure stuff is getting done.
Yeah.
We'll start to see some of the massive tents be erected there on the decommissioned runway up at Sanderson Field. This change now the third year up there at the Sanderson Field, and it has really opened up the walkability for a lot of folks. Everybody's able to find things a lot better over the last couple of years. What have you heard about the new location?
It is a much better layout.
Yeah.
I think people enjoy it a lot more because there's a flow to it, whereas you could go to the old location and miss things.
Yeah.
I think from our club standpoint, it costs a lot more to put on because
Right.
there aren't buildings, but we're really working at making a great experience, keeping it affordable for everybody, but also making sure we have covered areas and tents, and we really build a city for that weekend.
Really do. And we were talking with Dick Taylor and Wendy Smith from the Port of Shelton, and it's not just sweeping off the runway. You got to make sure that there's power and water, and then there's hundreds of RVs that will be coming in by the end of the week. 36th Annual Oyster Fest. What are some of the new features that people will be able to key in on, and some of the standard fun fare that people have been used to over the years?
A couple new features. Well, revised. So people are used to the seafood cook-off, and typically chefs have brought in recipes and basically done a cooking demonstration with a competition. We've really mixed it up this year. So you talk about Skookum Rotary putting this on. It's getting tougher and tougher to put an event on this big, and a lot of people don't realize Skookum Rotary is about 58 people.
Oh, wow. No.
And so really, Oysterfest isn't about Skookum Rotary. It's about this community, because there are very few people in this community that aren't touched by Oysterfest. So in that spirit, we needed help running this cook-off competition. So the Shelton Rotary Club is actually doing that this year.
Nice.
And they've actually absolutely freshened it up. It's going to be more like a chopped, and they're going to talk more about that. But I think that's one place people definitely need to go check out.
Very cool. And it's both days, cooking competitions there.
Yes. Amateurs on Saturday, professionals on Sunday, and then amateur winner versus the professional winner at the end on Sunday.
Will be a lot of fun. In addition to that, we have the oyster shucking, the speed, and the presentation shuckings on Saturdays and Sundays. And you did make a point of it, but all the monies that come into Oysterfest does go back out to the community.
Yeah, and that's one of the messages we're really trying to get out to folks is every piece of food you buy, that's a nonprofit, and that's their volunteers working the week up before Oysterfest. They're working the entire weekend to raise money for their organization. We've also added a new event Friday night. Shelton Rotary in the beer garden is hosting an Oyster Funk, and they came up with that name as a pre-funk to Oysterfest. And so that's open to the public Friday night, starts at 6 o'clock.
Fun. That'll be a lot of fun. And everybody's up there. Everything's all set up.
And that was kind of, we have the city set up. Let's get a little more use out of it.
Yeah.
And again, we went to the Shelton Club because we're tapped in terms of our capacity of what we can do. And Shelton said, we want to do an event. And they're bringing in Psychedelic Shadow Show for the band. And they're going to have food and beverages, and it's going to be fun, 6 to 10 on Friday.
You can find out all about Oysterfest online, of course, at oysterfest.org. We'll put the links to that where you can find tickets and RV registration, get another list of the events and entertainment. Also, around town, you'll find the Oysterfest booklet, which has got a chock full of great information. So even if it's your first time, you'll look through this book, you'll be an expert in all good things for Oysterfest. And it is, again, put on run by the Skookum Rotary Club, and sounds like a lot more extra help out there, and that's always fun that you get the extra support from the other clubs.
It is other clubs, other communities. But here's my message to the Mason County community: is if you're thinking, oh, I might want to get involved, we still need volunteers.
Okay.
And the best thing is you can come work a 3 to 4 hour shift and then enjoy the rest of the day at Oysterfest.
Oh, okay. How do we get involved if somebody wants to volunteer?
Oysterfest.org and go to the volunteers tab and say you're interested in volunteering, and our volunteer chair, Jerry Obendorf, will reach out to you.
Very nice. Well, Oysterfest is upcoming, and with the addition of Friday and Saturday and Sunday, there is plenty to see and do. And I'm going to put you out on the spot now.
Okay.
I don't want you to, not focus on some of the other types of foods, but what's your favorite? I always ask everybody what their favorite is every year.
I love the curried mussels. Those are done by Shelton Rotary Club.
Yeah, they are. And
I love the curried mussels.
Stood in many lines to get those curried mussels.
If you want to, get in line early for the coconut shrimp,
Sure.
because that is always the longest line. Hope Garden Project last year, I'm not sure what they're doing this year, did a shrimp rice, but they use vegetables from their garden. And that's what I love, is when some of these groups bring in some of the spirit from what they do. Oysterfest
does help out a lot of nonprofits around the area, and you can get involved by volunteering. Again, check it out at oysterfest.org. We'll put the links in the show notes here on the interview, talking with the Grand Old Oyster, Melanie Bakala. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Jeff.
And I hope you get a chance to kind of step back at some point over the weekend and kind of reflect on all the great work that has been done.
Thanks for the reminder. I will do that.
Good.